Yeah, I'm ready.
We are rolling.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, crap, not another DLP talk. Wasn't this like, what, 3 years ago or something like that? Got your fill of it? So a couple things about me. I'm a security consultant at Booz Allen Hamilton, and where I do commercial consulting for large companies. And I've done a lot of DLP work and done design, implementation, and operations for with large environments and global environments using most every DLP product out there. You can find me on social media at FeMaven, and the obligatory disclaimer: these thoughts don't reflect the thoughts or opinions of my employer. So, just briefly, I'm not going to talk about why DLP is useless and brag on it. It has its place. I'm not going to tell you what products to buy or talk about UBA, but I will talk about how to take a data governance-centric approach towards DLP, data protection, and using analytics to develop actionable intelligence. So, why does DLP still matter? We clearly still have issues with users taking data, either maliciously or accidentally sending something out that they shouldn't, and causing privacy breaches. So DLP is not a silver bullet when it comes to security. It has a lot of issues. Most notably, when you're deploying an endpoint product, there are going to be it's going to slow down things for users, or it can break things. Mobile is kind of kludgy, trying to handle iOS, and once you get incident data, how do you develop actionable information around it? And that's something I want to talk a little bit more about. And then agent management is rough. Troubleshooting is really hard, especially in large environments. Organizations really typically take a fragmented approach towards security, and a lot of that is just because companies will just buy all these security products and not really look at how they can work together and if there's overlapping capabilities, and data sprawl, which is kind of a topic that's starting to come into parlance or into vogue, and it really refers to data as it leaves applications and other authoritative sources and ending up on file shares, end-user machines, or on thumb drives. So now that DLP is up, and how do I make sure it stays running? And that's really where a lot of companies fall flat. You can bring in a company to implement DLP, but how do you actually run it? And that's as a company start putting in lots and lots of rules, then it generates lots and lots of incidents. So you need people to actually look at those rules, to tune those rules to reduce false positives, because the canned rules are usually crap, just like an IDS. And do I have the right people there to do it? Do they have the right skills to tune the rules, to do the investigations? And then regulatory requirements are a plus and a minus for DLP. You can use DLP to help comply with these regs, but also it creates challenges like if you're trying to deploy DLP to Germany, say, and having to get sign-off from a workers' council. And then because of that, though, you also it also helps you comply with GDPR if you use it right. But DLP ultimately becomes a lot of it. It becomes a checkbox effort, but I think it can be more than that. So we kind of talk a lot about why does DLP have issues, but how can we use DLP and other technologies to build a stronger framework for data protection? So at its core, data governance and classification. And users are not great at it, but it's something that you have to help train them on, or identify where the data is being used, where it's being created, and where it's being accessed. And you want to understand where the data is being orphaned as well. So once you kind of get a handle on data governance, then you need to start combining all that data and applying analytics to it. So correlating it against other data sources, so like file share logs, or database logs, or database activity logs, because then you can start seeing movement from those authoritative sources to those endpoints and other locations. By seeing seasonal trends, you can see that certain business units or sub-business units have insecure business processes, and start understanding of how effective your controls are. So if you see a lot of DLP incidents and then you start seeing a downturn when you apply a notification rule or some sort of thing like that, then it can help you understand how effective the controls are. Or alternatively, if you see an uptick, then it can raise other questions, like, I don't know, like tax time. You typically see a ton of DLP data. So that analytics is really meant to drive the discussions with stakeholders and frame the conversations around how do I prioritize and drive remediation of insecure business processes, and how do we identify additional use cases. So pivoting from personally identifiable information protection to intellectual property or financial data. So, like what I've seen companies start doing then is looking at joint venture data, or making sure that doesn't go out, or stuff around research data. And once you start getting all of that together, it makes it a lot easier to start automating it. You can't just throw bodies at DLP, and with security budgets starting to shrink now. So one thing that I've seen a lot of companies do is automate classification of data at rest. While it has its pluses and minuses, most notably performance and false positives, you can use that to address your orphaned and abandoned data problem. And combine that with applying a DLP rule to look for that classification, you can make sure that data that hasn't been touched does not go out. And that with encryption, I know DRM is kind of gotten a black eye and kind of a dirty word in security just because it doesn't work well, but I feel like there's been a lot of progress in this space, and by using encryption, you can make sure that if data does go out, you don't, that it's not as big of an issue. You can control the spread or access of that data once it's been released. And ultimately, DLP is just a small portion of data protection. The main point of data protection is to identify, which is the hard part, and protect critical data as it moves within the organization and leaves. And the hard part is trying to make that as frictionless as possible, or as simple for the end users to. And by making it simpler, it makes it easier to have the conversations with stakeholders on using DLP tools or other data security tools for that matter. So, I'm ready for any questions or that you all may have.
do have a question.
Sure.
When you talk about data at rest,
Yes.
and you talk about the use of DRM and the encryption,
Mm-hmm.
when you use encryption at rest, how does that affect your DLP tools?
So you can. The question was, how does DLP impact, or how does encryption impact DLP at rest, or DLP and data at rest? You can, depending on the tool, you can allow specific service accounts to be able to release it to specific applications or specific locations. So there is some granularity around that. There's a company that my company is doing some partnership work with, and they do like down to like object level, or even stuff encryption down to that level, or even down to like sections of a Word document, for example. So you can control access down to that point. Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.